Okay, we're going to resume. We're back up. So I'm so sorry, Stephanie Baker. You can start again, okay?
All right. We are here today every week because we want to live and work in a nice city. It seems that you do not. Tonight, 11 people were denied the ability to speak a public comment. They were told to leave the building. Yes, they were told they could return, but they have already left and gone home. That is not equitable. I would like to address some of the comments made earlier this evening by Councilperson Freeman, who said movement on selling White Pond began 15 years ago, and what has changed? A lot has changed. Many people have become adults and began engaging politically. A resident pointed this out last week, that when this began, she was 6 years old. How could she have engaged then? Also, even if people were adults when this began, people learn and change. Councilperson Amobian told us that she learned new things within the last few weeks about White Pond. 15 years ago, why would any of you know these things? It comes up as it comes up. People come in and out of the ability to engage in council as well. Also, who cares that this began 15 years ago? That is sunk cost fallacy. Do not continue doing things because choices that were made over a decade ago. The systems to engage with citizens are clearly broken. All the engagement on the White Pond project has come about at the behest of the residents. The city didn't host town halls or ask questions until concerned residents brought the group together. We appreciate that council people came to the meetings, but having the weight of government notifying locals that there is a monumental change coming and hosting town halls should be required. Also, participating in council is hard. This isn't our job. We're not paid to be here. We have to take time off work or time away from our families. We can't all be here all the time. Some people can't even be here some of the time. Many people work multiple jobs and have families. We are doing the best that we can and engaging when we can. You all think that we hate development, that we're always blocking development. White Pond, the Valley, Ladue, what do these have in common? Green space. This is much needed space for the city. These campaigns are not run by the same people or the same orgs. These are residents coming together. Some organize better than others, but these groups all come together ad hoc. These are groups that oppose these developments because it is an awful use of the space. We have so many abandoned areas and underdeveloped areas that should be seen to first. Look immediately at the Innerbelt. A highway decimated a neighborhood of people of color and the working class. It remains empty. Now, let's talk about the menacing bill. It's pretty disgusting that the public was kicked out before you discuss menacing. This legislation will not be applied equitably across the board. In the discussion, I heard you mention carrying guns in front of officials' homes. I hate guns. I wouldn't like it in front of my home. But, oh well, the state of Ohio allows open carry. That is the way it is. I have no confidence in the city of Akron not using this as the FBI did against the Black Panther Party and persecuting people of color and anyone showing dissent.
Stephanie, I'm so sorry.
This is criminalizing protests.
Your time is
up. The
up.
lawsuits will bleed money from the city.
Thank you. Beth Vild? Is Beth here?
Hello. My name is Beth Field. I'm the CEO, Director of Programming for the Big Love Network. Earlier today, or beyond today, my executive director asked if one of our representatives could come and speak to regards of the White Pond property, and we were not responded to. So we weren't just civilians, but also experts in the room trying to express serious concerns about poisoning our community. I came here to throw up facts at you like I normally do, but today I'm going to speak a little bit more from the heart, and I might get arrested for menacing because of it, because it does not seem that our First Amendment rights are respected by this body, nor are they respected by the state government or the federal government at this time. Our governments on local, state, and national levels are turning closer and closer to fascism, and 2022 has turned out to be one of the worst years in my 36 years of existence because of it. Before 2022, I thought that Akron was the place that we could build a green, equitable city on the hill, somewhere where people listened to one another and cared about their longevity and health moving forward as a whole community. But in 2022, I found that profits matter more than people in this city. I have found that community voices are of no concern to our elected officials. I have found that while people die in housing down in the valley, and people continue to get eaten by rats all over the city, we have a hard time having any teeth around housing and housing code, but we have to spend every week talking to you about why you shouldn't poison us at White Pond. It is disgraceful, it is disheartening, it's not just disheartening, it is heartbreaking. I will spend potentially the rest of my life cleaning up your messes and trying to justify why anybody would ever move here. I'm a millennial that have fought for millennials to live here, and you've spit in all of our faces. This is not a city that my generation or younger generations want to live in, and your decisions continually reflect that. I do not see how you can hold these seats in good confidence and know that you did the right things when you vote to poison people and to murder our civilians in the street. And then we're the ones called menacing. I hope you have a great holiday season, because the rest of us have to live with your decisions.
Ben Gifford.
Hello everyone, Ben Gifford, Ward 4. Just a quick personal comment. Allegedly, Sergeant Patrick Newman allegedly stole Nick Cassiopa's phone. If you know Sergeant Newman, please make sure that he gets his phone back quickly. I didn't plan a public comment tonight, unlike usual, because I didn't know how this was going to go. I'm an optimist at heart, and I thought maybe some people would want to do the right thing, but it pretty much went as I feared, and it's just really shameful. I do want to first talk about the mandatory minimums. It's pretty weird to be locked out of a hearing on something that is like that. It is, and I know that most of you voted for it, it is ultimately another slide in a fascist direction. It really is. It crushes dissent, and you may be asking yourselves, well, you know, what about dissent? Dissent's healthy, right? That's how we come to better agreements. That's how we come to better decision making. And the mayor spoke to some comments when he was in here briefly, saying, you know, it's getting harder for public officials. Y'all are making it harder to be public officials. Every time you make a decision like this that goes against the will of the people, it gets harder and harder for you. And I don't know if some of you don't understand that, or some of you don't care, or what it is, but it's not just here, but anywhere where a city or a state or whoever is failing its people, it gets harder to govern those people by the very nature of governance and how people respond to that. Mandatory minimums are just disgusting for something like that, because now you are saying every single vague thing of menacing gets to be treated the same way. And incarceration disrupts people's lives, hurts them financially, hurts them in so many ways. So I do want to thank at least the 6 of you who fought against this deal, or at least fought for the democratic process, because that's so important. You want to bring people into this city, but it's not the way to do it, to just spurn them and neglect them and not listen to them. We need to improve our education system. We need to improve the housing that's here, and we need to do a better job of listening to all these brilliant, passionate people who really greatly outnumbered all of you, the people who actually physically came here and the people who never came here and couldn't show up here. It's a representative democracy, and we were not represented. So I don't know what it is, if it's just, if there's, I'm not making accusations, but if it's backdoor deals, or if it's just plain old hubris, right? I don't know, because elections are coming up. And if you're running for re-election, the people definitely know how you voted tonight, and definitely know how you made them feel along this entire process. I don't care about the credentials of the deal in this moment or all. It could be an amazing deal, but y'all didn't make us see that. We don't think it is. But again, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the process. It was terrible.
Thank you. Megan Lugo.
Before I begin, I would appreciate if everyone put away their phones. It's a rule I have in my classroom, and I would appreciate it here. Thank you. Hoy es el Día de la Virgen de Guadalupe, una fiesta católica que celebra la aparición de la Virgen María a San Juan Diego. De todas las personas a quien podría aparecerse, ella escogió a un hombre indígena y pobre. I could continue in Spanish, which honors the holiday, though I suppose no waddle, but I'm a little rusty on that. And I won't use Spanish because I know often a lot of white people get uncomfortable and find it menacing. So I will speak English anyway, though I often know that you all are capable of understanding me, even when I do speak in English. Of all the people the Virgin Mary, the Mother of God, could have appeared to, the rich, the powerful, the colonizers who brutalized this land, on this day we celebrate that the Virgin Mary, the Mother of God, appeared to a poor indigenous man and vocalized her commitment to listening to and speaking for the poor, the afflicted, the less than, the outcast. This speaking for people without a voice is not only a principle of my Catholic faith, a faith that some of you, I think, share, but I guess you didn't read the book, is a principle of also our democracy and our culture. Now, some of you got the memo or read the book. Holland, Malik, Neal, Mosley, Kamer, Amobian. Thank you. But we will remember the names of those who ignored those who cried out about concerns regarding White Pond Reserve to empower and enrich the few. Horrigan, who enriched campaign donors and denigrated the people of this city and doesn't know the difference between a pool of water and a wetland. Lombardo, who told us we can't walk away from $50 million. McKittrick, who waxes poetic about fire safety but seems to care not about the safety of citizens. Connor, who doesn't seem to understand based on conversations with citizens what her own vote means because she told constituents this deal can be changed when it absolutely cannot. Freeman, who chairs a committee that is dedicated to environmental sustainability and yet voted for this in spite of robust environmental concerns. Fusco, as an organizational psychologist with a PhD, I can say is a failure of leadership. Baylor, who we never even hear from to begin with. And Somerville, who given her father's mayoral campaign is sponsored by Mayor Horrigan, should have recused herself from this vote to begin with. Do this community the decency of resigning. Not only will it spare us the indignity of suffering through your incompetence, but it will spare you the wrath of the masses. When children can't breathe, I am talking. When children can't breathe from asthma, when mothers can't carry children because they die in their wombs, I am speaking, Mr. Somerville. You could look at me. And when parents die before they even see their children wed from living at this toxic site. For the record, it is because of your incompetence that I am coming for a seat at that table.
Thank you, Megan. The last name is Wilkerson. I apologize, I can't read the first name. Wilkerson?
Take this off real quick. Hello, my name is Kalen Wilkinson. I live in Ward 4, and I oppose the White Pond development. I would like to address a few of you individually. Councilor Baylor, you do not show up in person, you do not respond, you do not represent the people that you are supposed to, which is everyone in the city. Staying quiet is weak. Councilor Somerville, it's very silly to think that you specifically have met anyone in the middle, as you said in the Akron Beacon Journal. Everyone that I know that has reached out to you has not received a response. You also actively ignore your constituents when they address you in public comment. You avoid eye contact, your body language is dismissive. It would be lovely if the president of this council cared for its people. In my opinion, the mayor spreads misinformation and dismisses honest, productive conversations with the citizens of this city. He has lovely citizens pay for a private convoy of police officers, including the chief of police, to escort him at a citizen-held public meeting. We have to ask, at least rhetorically, if more officers than can fit in a squad car were needed. I wonder if they came in a clown car. What does that alone say about the mayor as a person? I have heard people say that he should be impeached. This is just a recurring theme at this point. Councilor Jeff Fusco, how you acted today was immature and childish. I truly feel like you should apologize to Councilman Malik. If this is a repeat issue, it might be useful to seek anger management. Any councilors who are not immediately concerned about the longevity of this project are foolish. Per the city's own FAQ, the soil has concerning levels of many contaminants that could be dangerous for the families that end up living there. The developers cannot install basements in these homes due to contaminants and flooding, but the developers didn't have to worry about either at their own homes. Any counselor who votes for this have the privilege of allowing their children play in the dirt while these families will not. Thank you to Councilors Neal, Mosley, Malik, Kamer, Amobian, and Holland for your support and advocacy here. To the councilors that voted no, thank you. You are the real ones. If you voted yes, I hope you make more intelligent decisions in the future. To quote the mayor, "It's not personal, I'm not mad."
Thank you. Ren Kohler? Those are the ones I have. Oh, he's next.
Last one, but we got one more after me. You know, I had a real cute little speech I was going to talk to you about with trees and how they affect metals in the soil, because yes, those are toxic, but trees, thankfully, and all of their understory plants in their community make a wonderful web that holds all of them in the soil. So if we don't tear any of them up, the metals stay in the soil, and it actually gets sucked up, because the trees, to put it simply, are big straws, sucking it up through their root system. But I'm not going to say that now. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to talk about that painting outside. It's a beautiful painting, but it's a shame to be stuck in this hall of injustice. We are pieces of the solution, it says. Well, you treat us as roadblocks, disposable as you impose your garbage deals on us that will destroy our home, our environment, our home. You people live here too. Are you crazy? Health disparities are preventable. Yes, they are, especially if we make smart choices that protect our environment, which protects us all. This Triton deal is a farce and will destroy the properties, the long-term investments of the very people you depend on to vote you into office. Thank you to the ones who had the moral fortitude to say no. Seriously, thank you. It's amazing. To the ones who caved to money interests to sell our future, resign, every one of you, Fusco especially. And Margot, you shouldn't even be here. You have a conflict of interest because your dad is running for mayor. I ask you to resign. And to achieve optimal health that is experienced by socially disadvantaged populations, get out of here. Seriously, you have that up there, yet we have neighborhoods, black and brown, poor neighborhoods being poisoned actively right now by mercury and lead and cadmium in the soil, arsenic as well. It's all in the White Pond territory, and yet it's still happening right now, presently. We can study this. We have the data. You all have to actually listen to us. People stayed, even after police threats. You feel menaced by us, but it is us who are being menaced by you all. Because we care deeply about our city, our home. You cannot chase us away. Even if you steal our property, like Nick's cell phone, with a warrant from November 2nd, are you kidding me? This is fascism, plain and simple. Are you feeling menaced? Am I menacing you with my attitude, my tone? Even if you steal our property, even if you make a legislation that covers you all like a protective layer of fat, we will remain and we will continue. White Pond is not over. Quit your jobs if you said no. Thank you to the ones who said yes.
Fran Wilson?
Hello. You know my name. I'm sorry. What was that? What was that? You just kicked 40 people, 45 people out of a city council meeting on live stream? There was a call to disperse given by an officer. I hope that we all, understand that are there records for that? Who gave that order? I'd like to know more about that. 45 people left this room. Several of them were not able to come back into this room. They were given a call to disperse, made null their public comment forms. Many people were not able to give public comment here tonight. Over a development deal that probably shouldn't have been pitched the way it was, probably shouldn't have been put before council the way it was, probably shouldn't have been put through committee the way it was. I've been to just about every single one of those committee meetings on this deal, and it was bad all the way through. There's no reason why tonight had to happen. You could have anyone at these tables could have let citizens speak at committee meetings. During the issue 10 discussion, when we were initially blocked from giving public comment during committee meeting, we were allowed to then speak, but someone said that they would go in and revise the rules of council to allow the public to speak. We need to revise our rules. We need to revise our rules. And I'm sorry I'm a little bit all over the place right now. I think we've all just experienced a trauma of bad government. This was not okay on so many levels. This is supposed to be for and by the people. Y'all are supposed to listen to us, give us some space to breathe and to be in community with you. And that was rejected from day one, every single meeting afterwards. And then we were kicked out of the People's Hall. These benches are empty, and this is a city council meeting? I hope we all take some time tonight to reflect on this moment and what this means, what this really means for our local government and for the future of Akron.
Thank you. Ken?
I'm done. Thank you.
My name is Ken Brooks. I'm here to express the disgust of the community. I won't say with the whole horseshoe, but I'll say just with this whole process in general. It's been very, very clear that you all do not care about this community. You care about your positions, you care about your pockets, you care about your personas, but you do not care about the people of the city of Akron. You care about your parents. You care about responsibility that has been put on you, but you do not take responsibility for the community. We do want you to resign. We don't want you here, and we will show you that in these upcoming city council elections, because you say you've been here, this decision came up 15 years ago, you've been here too long. If you think this decision was right for 15 years, you've clearly been here too long. You don't listen to the people, you don't know what this community looks, sounds, feels like, and you don't deserve to be here anymore. There are 8 officers right now at work. They don't deserve to be there. This community is tired of the corruptness, of the closed ears, of the blind eyes, of the fat stomachs and full pockets. We get none of this money. ARP money that you all gave to a corrupt mayor that's leaving office now, making lame duck decisions, you gave that to them. The same people that voted for White Pine. We don't want you here, and clearly you don't want to be here. So yes, we all stand together when we say resign, resign. It's clear you don't like your job. All you do is sit up there and make faces as the people try to speak to you. You make faces and disrespect people constantly. You're on camera every time, making faces, rolling your eyes, acting like you have somewhere else better to be. We ask you, please be there. Be there. Let someone be here that cares about us, that cares about this community, that cares about the children, because clearly it's the majority of not this horseshoe at all. So we say the time is up. We want our money back, we want our seats back, we want our power back. Issue 10 proved it. Y'all didn't care if the community was able to have any type of transparency with the police, but the community did. 29,000 votes. So those same voters will be out here letting you know that we don't want you here. The time is up, and that's my time as well.
Thank you, Ken. I think we do have some people who are online virtually with us. Is James Quinn online with us? Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to allow him a few minutes to come into the room. James Quinn.
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Let me know when I can start.
You can begin.
Okay, so I had a whole speech that I was going to give about the White Pond development. One of the biggest things that I was going to discuss is that there might be indigenous artifacts and remains on this land. There's a lot of written and oral history up in the city of Akron. I can actually point you to the collections in the Akron Library that discusses this if you are so interested and inclined. and using the what has been passed in Congress, the Native American Graves Repatriation and Protections Act. If any remains are found during the construction of this, you have to repatriate them either through communication with the nations or communication through, you have to communicate with the nations, actually. That's the biggest part of it. And it would have been really nice if before all of this went through, a cultural study was done, either communicating with archaeologists and anthropologists at the University of Akron, or communicating with the Ohio State University, or communicating with Ohio Historical Connection, which it was OHC, which has a large portion of indigenous remains that have been found in Ohio that they're currently trying to repatriate. Unfortunately, none of these things were done before you all voted yes on this, so now we are left to assume, being the native residents of Akron, I myself am Lumbee, a nation from North Carolina. I was actually going to greet you in my native language before you kicked everybody out of council. But anyways, you have a duty to the people who are in the, if you don't go through with the cultural study, which I've noticed you are not going to be, if you just disregard the indigenous people who live here, then everybody who lives here who is native can just be told that just like we will be treated just like we have always been, which is an inconvenience. I yield the rest of my time. Actually, I have one more thing to add. The fact that y'all served a warrant after the time that it was limited for, you didn't actually list any of the things that you were going to take. You just served a warrant. I hope the taxpayers love how much money y'all are about to lose in a lawsuit. Enjoy. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Is William Reynolds online with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. So I've got a few observations. I will apologize. I typically have a little bit of a script, but I'm going to be very off the cuff tonight. But everything I'm saying is very planned, and some of the people in the audience will want to hear some of the information I have. First off, about the ordinance raising the age to 45 for police officers, I frankly think that there shouldn't be an age limit if you're 61 and want to be a police officer and meet all the qualifications. It shouldn't stop you. Secondly, if there is an age limit, it should be the same for fire department and police department. There is some confusion around that. I used to be a volunteer firefighter, and right now, I'm pretty sure I'm too old to go for a spot in the fire department. I'm only 39. So I also want to comment on the menacing ordinance. It's very poorly worded. It can be menacing when people disagree with us. You will hear us all tonight. I would encourage you guys to consider that this doesn't need to be an ordinance. There's already a disturbing public officials, public business ordinance that already carries consequences. I actually got charged with that recently when a public official was infringing on my rights. I went to court and it got thrown out because the criminal side of court agrees with me apparently. Unfortunately, I might have to do more with that. I want to thank everyone who voted no for White Pond. You guys listened. I believe you will still have a job in 2024. I do want to comment, Councilman Fusco. I was at the meeting where the gentleman spoke about meeting you in the alley, and he didn't say, come meet me in the alley. He didn't threaten you. He offered, if you wanted to talk to him in an alley, you could come. So maybe you should, interpret that right. Also, carrying a gun outside of your house is perfectly legal. It's within the lines of the U.S. Constitution. Very important. Constitution supersedes anything you guys pass. And lastly, Ms. Somerville, you are a well-known person. Your father's a well-known person. I should let you know that what you do might affect him running for mayor. And just so you know,
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Your time is up. I'm so sorry.
Good night and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment period for this evening. We're now going to move into committee assignments, rules. Councilman Freeman. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Parks and Rec, Councilman Lombardo. 145. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco. Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilwoman Mosley.
2 p.m.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian. Public Utilities and Green Committee, Councilman Freeman. 45. Is there anything else coming before this body? Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you. A few things. First, I want to tell the many residents who have called, texted, sent emails, hosted community forums in regards to White Pond Reserve. I hear you, and I will show you nothing but the utmost respect. We can collaborate and lead at the same time, and we need to remember that. I hope that in the process, now that this has been voted on, that the developers will be honest enough with those residents in that community that when they are over there taking their soil samples or whatever within the agreement they're supposed to do, that they're honest with those residents. I had a resident say to me over the weekend, did I know what white flight was? Well, of course I know what that means. Most of us around here do. And they said, we have money and we can move at any time. We're homeowners and they're catering to renters. Now, most of us in the city are renters, but we're talking about people who own $300,000, $400,000 houses now saying that they'll leave here if this development is built. And I think we should have taken some of that into consideration, even outside of the fact that we have some serious environmental issues going on that property that have existed for a really long time. And I do hope that the developers will do their due diligence so those residents can feel safe. I still think it's a bad idea, but I do hope that they do their due diligence, especially when we're talking about toxins, we're talking about endangered species, we're talking about a tree canopy. The tear down and the replacement just don't equal one another at all. But those are things that I do hope that they will be open and honest about. We are not saying we don't want development in this city. We want development, but there are so many other properties around this city that could be developed within the inner city. There's nothing wrong with living in Ward 3, 4, or 5, or 7, or 9. How about they look in those areas and find places to build and figure that out later? I did talk to the developer, and he did tell me that they're working on a project over by the East End, over by the Laird Street area. Well, maybe they should start there while they figure this one out the right way. So then the residents will be bought into the process, and they'll feel like they're a part of the process and not on the back end, because I know it keeps coming up about, we talked about this in June, we voted on it in September, the things that have been brought to us here as of the last few months, we did not know when this came to us. There's no way we knew that there were active whales on that site. I definitely didn't know, because I absolutely would have voted no. We did not know that there were spotted turtles over there and there were endangered species and there were bats over there. None of us knew that. We know that now. So I do hope that we do take this, although it has passed, I do hope that there is some respect to move slowly through the process so it's done the right way. I think we owe it to the residents to do at least that, Two more things. Even with the enforcement of the menacing code, and I will tell you as someone who has experienced it, just a few months after my dad passed away, I had people come to my house in monkey suits and guns, and nobody cared about passing an ordinance then. They got an escort to my house. Nobody cared about it then. I'm glad they care now, because they didn't then. So I do hope that we will enforce our housing code a little more expedient before we start enforcing the menacing code, seeing that the Hillwood has mold growing everywhere, and they've sent videos to everyone again. We've got Timbertop in the newspaper again about all the many violations down there, and they're the #1 agency that is evicting people in the city of Akron. Go figure that. Lastly, I know I don't want to run out of time and get gonged. I want us all to remember this number as we go into the holiday and hope that we come back and nothing has changed, but I'll tell you it probably will. 42. 42. And I'm not talking about Jackie Robinson's number. I'm talking about the number of homicides we now have here in the city of Akron. 42. And they're getting younger and younger, and the frequency of shootings in this city are getting closer and closer. They're daily now. A 19-year-old, a 23-year-old, it's daily now. All you hear about is the gunfire, gunfire. The residents aren't even calling the police anymore because it's become part of the noise in the neighborhood. But we have to do something about it because whatever we're doing is not working. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Malik?
Thank you, Madam President. I don't quite know what to say, but there are difficult meetings. This has been a very difficult meeting. We all have an obligation to treat each other with dignity and respect, and that's not just true here, that's true all of us as residents, as citizens of the city and this country. The jeering that happened isn't acceptable, right? And it's just frustrating, right? I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with how this whole process has played out. I'm frustrated with a lot. I think there have been situations where members of the citizens of the residents have been disrespected during our meetings in the past few months, in some of the discussions about issue 10 and some of the discussions about this White Pond. And I look around at the headlines and look at, Friday there's a gun found at Firestone. Last Monday there's a gun found at Litchfield. During our break to clear the chambers, you see posts about people are so frustrated at the school board meeting just a couple blocks away. We are in a difficult place. We are in a difficult place as a community. And not any single one of us has the answer and knows the way out. But we have to find a way of all of us, the whole community, our body as council, treating each other with dignity and respect, not arguing. Finding better ways to engage with people on difficult issues. We are not always going to agree. People have to accept the outcomes that happen and then engage in the democratic process. But we have to find better ways of doing this.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam President. Today is a new low for this council. Okay, I'm sorry. I said today is a new low for this council. The answer is community. My ancestors left us with a parable that has the answer, and it says it takes a village to raise a child. And it doesn't just take a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to do everything. It's collective work, it's collaboration, it's working together. We could not pay. This city pays hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes $1.6 million, for consultation that we receive from the constituents today over this process. We would be foolish going forward to not engage the constituents that are a part of our community. That's one. Going forward, this is what I heard from residents. They want us to relook at the 15-year 100% tax abatement. Move it from developers to homeowners so that it could be an advantage. They want us to have a citywide plan to understand our wetlands. In Ward 4, we have the property that's right there on Mall Avenue. In talking to the developer, I believe that property is now owned by First Energy. We need to work with them to take that for sale sign down and preserve those wetlands. I'm still concerned who's going to be responsible if this development exacerbates the flooding in White Pond. The question, we are now, Madam President, 3 months from when I asked you about the bomb threat. And it's taken like it's an annoyance down here. But we passed this menacing law, Ohio Revised Code, that speaks to that. We've had constituents come down here. We don't have a plan. Nothing's been brought before us. That needs to be addressed. And to my colleague that spoke about the gun violence, less than a month ago, legislation came before this council where we could have empowered our residents, just like we did with the neighborhood grant, so that those that are out there beautifying their communities had some resources to engage their community. Since that time, right before that legislation came out, there was a stabbing at the school. Right after the legislation that wasn't even read by members of this council, a 15-year study of grassroots engagement with the city of Akron, the police department, Kent State University, Jobs and Family Services, the hospitals. This body didn't even take time to read it. But since that time, right after we voted, it hits the paper about the concern of the teachers and safeties in the school. Since that time, as has been mentioned by some of you around the horseshoe, stabbings in the school, guns being found, multiple, just this weekend, 6 shootings, 2 killings. And we haven't said anything. We haven't said anything. Where are our priorities? We're going to go off into the holiday season. Mothers are going to be burying their children. And this council hasn't done a thing. The metal detectors that they're getting at the school system, it's going to take them, they might not even get in before this year is out. And metal detectors do not solve the problem. I used to get upset and say, you know, oh, expel the kid for bringing a gun to school. No. I want to know why he feels he has to bring a gun to school. But after this weekend, I understand why. These children are scared. They're terrified. Not all of them are in gangs. And we have a chance to empower. Each one of you could have had money to empower and work with your constituents, schools in your district, and you did not even take time to read the work of this community. Disrespect is just commonplace down here. But the blood of each child that has died since that came before us is on those of you who voted no, because you've brought nothing to replace that. And that's serious.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Anything else coming before this body at this time? We have a motion for adjournment. If there are no objections, meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.